Welcome to today's episode of Lost Civilizations, where we dive deep into the mysteries that lie beneath our oceans. Picture this. You're standing on a beach, watching waves crash against the shore, completely unaware that beneath those waters lie the ruins of entire civilizations. Cities with temples, roads, harbors, and homes where millions once lived, loved, and built their dreams. What if I told you that our oceans hide more history than all the museums on Earth combined? That beneath the waves rest pyramids older than those in Egypt, cities more advanced than anything we thought possible for their time, and evidence that rewrites everything we know about human civilization. From the Mediterranean to the Arabian Sea, from Japan to the Caribbean, underwater archaeologists are making discoveries that challenge our understanding of the past. These aren't just random ruins, they're complete urban centers, some spanning miles, preserved in perfect detail by the very water that claimed them. Today, we'll explore 10 of the most mysterious underwater civilizations ever discovered. We'll all walk through the submerged streets of cities that were thriving when our history books tell us humans were barely capable of building simple shelters. We'll examine evidence that suggests advanced maritime cultures existed thousands of years before we thought possible. The ocean covers 71% of our planet's surface, yet we've explored less than 5% of it. What secrets are still waiting down there? What civilizations are we yet to discover? Let's find out together as we embark on this incredible journey into the depths of lost time. Chapter 1. Egypt's Sunken Gateway. Imagine walking through the bustling harbor of ancient Egypt's most important port city. Merchants from across the Mediterranean haggle over precious goods. Massive granite statues of Pharaoh's tower above temple courtyards, and ceremonial boats carry golden artifacts for the gods. Then, in a moment that would change history forever, the earth beneath this magnificent city begins to tremble. This is the story of Thonis Heraclean, Egypt's lost gateway to the Mediterranean, a city so important that all foreign ships entering Egypt were required to stop there first. For over a millennium, this underwater metropolis remained nothing more than a legend mentioned in ancient texts by historians like Herodotus and Strabo. Then, in the year 2000, French underwater archaeologist Frank Gaudio made a discovery that would rewrite our understanding of ancient Egypt. Thonis Heraclean lay forgotten beneath the Mediterranean Sea, 6 kilometers off the coast of present-day Alexandria, submerged under 10 meters of water in Aboukir Bay. What Gaudio's team revealed was nothing short of extraordinary, an entire world that had been sealed under silt and sand for more than 1,000 years. The city's dual name reflects its multicultural nature. The Egyptians called it Thonis, while the Greeks knew it as Heraclean, and a stele discovered at the site proved these were actually one and the same city. Before Alexandria's founding in 331 BC, this was Egypt's primary Mediterranean port, controlling all maritime trade entering the ancient kingdom. Walking through the submerged ruins today, divers encounter a sight that defies imagination. Colossal red granite statues, some standing over 5 meters tall and weighing several tons, lie scattered across the seabed. The largest statue, representing a Ptolemaic king, was discovered shattered into 5 fragments, but has been painstakingly reassembled underwater. These monuments once welcomed visitors to the massive temple of Amun-Gareb, where pharaohs came to be blessed with divine authority. The archaeological evidence reveals a city of incredible sophistication. Over 700 anchors and 79 shipwrecks have been discovered, proof of the city's vibrant maritime activity. The urban layout resembled a watery Venice, with networks of canals winding through neighborhoods scattered across multiple islands. These waterways weren't just for transportation. They served as sacred routes for religious ceremonies. One of the most significant discoveries was evidence of the mysteries of Osiris, an important annual ceremony where the god Osiris was carried in a ceremonial boat from the great temple of Amun-Gareb to his shrine in the neighboring city of Canopus. This ritual central to ancient Egyptian religious beliefs about death and rebirth, transformed the city's canals into sacred pathways connecting the physical and spiritual worlds. The wealth and international character of Thonis Heracleion is evident in every artifact recovered from its depths. Archaeologists have uncovered Greek ceramics, 2,400-year-old wicker baskets still filled with grape seeds and palm fruit, gold jewelry, silver ritual instruments, and alabaster containers for perfumes and ointments. These findings paint a picture of a cosmopolitan trading hub where Egyptian, Greek, and other Mediterranean cultures intersected. Perhaps most remarkably, in 2021, archaeologists discovered a rare Ptolemaic galley, a 25-meter-long military vessel that had been trapped beneath fallen temple blocks for over 2 millennia. This ship, with its unique blend of Greek and Egyptian construction techniques, provides unprecedented insight into ancient shipbuilding and the multicultural nature of the city's inhabitants. The discovery of Greek weapons and sanctuaries within the city tells us that Greeks were not just visitors, but permanent residents allowed to settle and build their own temples during the Saite dynasty, 664–525 BCE. They established a sanctuary to Aphrodite near the main temple, showing how different cultures coexisted in this ancient melting pot. But what caused this magnificent city to disappear beneath the waves? Scientists believe a combination of factors led to Thonis Heracleion's demise. Perhaps a tsunami in the 4th century AD, a great earthquake in the 8th century AD, or a gradual coastal erosion. Most likely, it was a combination of all three, with the soft clay beneath the city liquefying during seismic activity, causing massive structures to sink into the earth. The scale of ongoing discovery at Thonis Heracleion is staggering. Frank Gaudio estimates that only about 5% of the ancient city has been excavated so far, meaning decades of exploration lie ahead. Each diving season brings new revelations about this lost world beneath the waves. What makes Thonis Heracleion particularly significant is how it challenges our assumptions about ancient civilizations. This wasn't a primitive settlement. It was a sophisticated urban center with advanced harbor facilities, complex religious architecture, and international trade networks that connected Egypt to the broader Mediterranean world. The city's preservation under sediment has created a time capsule that offers unprecedented insights into daily life, religious practices, and economic systems of the ancient world. As we surface from our journey through Thonis Heracleion's flooded streets and toppled temples, we're left with profound questions about what other lost cities might be waiting beneath our oceans. If a metropolis this significant could vanish so completely from historical memory, what other civilizations have we yet to rediscover in the depths? Chapter 2. The world's oldest underwater city. Imagine standing on a Bronze Age street corner 5,000 years ago, watching children play in courtyards while their parents conduct business in sophisticated 2-story houses with private gardens. The sounds of a bustling marketplace echo from the central plaza, and you can see ships approaching the harbor, their holds filled with exotic goods from across the Mediterranean. This scene isn't from your imagination. It's the daily reality of what was once Pavlopetri, now recognized as the world's oldest complete underwater city. Located in the Peloponnesus region of southern Greece, near a small village called Pavlopetri. This archaeological site lies 4 meters underwater and is believed to be the oldest known planned underwater town in the world. What makes this discovery so extraordinary isn't just its age. It has the incredible state of preservation that allows us to understand exactly how our ancestors lived over 5 millennia ago. The story of Pavlopetri's rediscovery begins in 1967, when British oceanographer Nicholas Fleming made an accidental discovery that would revolutionize underwater archaeology. While surveying the waters off southern Greece, Fleming noticed what appeared to be ancient walls beneath the crystal-clear waters. What he had stumbled upon was nothing less than a complete Bronze Age settlement, perfectly preserved beneath the waves. The initial survey in 1968 by a team from the University of Cambridge revealed something unprecedented. At least 15 separate buildings consisting of multiple rooms each, courtyards, streets, 2 chamber tombs, and nearly 40 individual graves. But this was just the beginning. When modern archaeological teams returned to Pavlopetri in 2009, using cutting-edge underwater robotics and 3D mapping technology, they uncovered details that would have been impossible to document decades earlier. Picture the urban planning of this ancient city. Pavlopetri was incredibly well designed, with roads connecting 2-story houses with gardens, temples, a cemetery, and a complex water management system, including channels and water pipes. In the center of the settlement stood a plaza measuring approximately 40 by 20 meters, a community gathering space that wouldn't look out of place in a modern city center. The sophistication of Pavlopetri's infrastructure is remarkable. The water management system suggests an understanding of engineering principles that we typically associate with much later civilizations. The houses weren't simple huts, but complex multi-room structures, some containing up to 12 separate chambers. This speaks to a society with distinct social classes, specialized professions, and the wealth to support elaborate domestic architecture. Archaeological evidence indicates that Pavlopetri was initially inhabited around 2800 BC, making it contemporary with the early Minoan civilization. The city flourished for nearly 2,000 years before its submersion around 1000 BC. This longevity is extraordinary. Few cities in human history have maintained continuous occupation for such an extended period. The artifacts recovered from Pavlopetri paint a vivid picture of Bronze Age life. Thousands of pottery fragments reveal not only local craftsmanship, but also extensive trade connections. Some ceramics were clearly imports, showing that Pavlopetri was part of a sophisticated trade network spanning the Mediterranean. Bronze and iron artifacts, including tools, weapons, and jewelry, indicate the city had a skilled metalworking industry. What's particularly fascinating is evidence of textile production. Numerous loom weights found throughout the site suggest that Pavlopetri was a major center for fabric manufacturing, possibly specializing in creating affordable copies of expensive Cretan styles for the broader Greek market. This indicates not just trade, but sophisticated understanding of market demand and production efficiency. The layout of Pavlopetri provides unique insights into Bronze Age urban planning. The city wasn't haphazardly built, but followed clear organizational principles, with distinct residential, commercial, and religious districts. The streets were planned in a logical grid pattern, and the positioning of the central plaza suggests careful consideration of community needs and social interaction. Religious life in Pavlopetri appears to have been central to the community's identity. The temples weren't just places of worship, but likely served as community centers, storage facilities for collective resources, and focal points for civic life. The presence of formal burial grounds with both chamber tombs and individual graves indicates a society with complex beliefs about death and afterlife, as well as social hierarchies reflected in burial practices. The preservation of Pavlopetri is nothing short of miraculous. Unlike many ancient sites that were built over by later civilizations, Pavlopetri sank beneath the waves and was never reoccupied, preserving its Bronze Age layout intact. This has created an unparalleled archaeological resource, a frozen moment in time that shows us exactly how people lived 5,000 years ago. But Pavlopetri's significance extends beyond archaeology into the realm of mythology and literature. Some scholars suggest that this Bronze Age port ruins may have served as inspiration for Plato's legendary tale of Atlantis. The timing is certainly suggestive. Pavlopetri was ancient, even by the standards of classical Greece, its submersion already a distant memory when Plato wrote his dialogues. The technological achievement of mapping Pavlopetri represents a revolution in underwater archaeology. Using autonomous underwater vehicles equipped with stereoscopic photogrammetry, researchers created a three-dimensional reconstruction covering 26,600 square meters at a resolution of 2 millimeters per pixel, the largest scale underwater optical 3D map ever created at such resolution. Today, Pavlopetri faces modern threats that echo ancient challenges. The site is endangered by pollution from illegal ship anchoring, sediment disturbance, and, unfortunately, looting by souvenir hunters. These contemporary dangers highlight the fragility of our underwater cultural heritage and the urgent need for protection and preservation. In 2016, Pavlopetri was included on the World Monuments Watch, a global program working to protect heritage locations under threat. Protective measures now include marked buoys around the site and educational programs to raise awareness about the importance of preserving this underwater treasure. The ongoing research at Pavlopetri continues to yield new insights about Bronze Age life. Each dive season brings fresh discoveries about trade routes, domestic life, religious practices, and social organization. The site serves as a laboratory for testing new underwater archaeological techniques and technologies that can be applied to other submerged sites around the world. What makes Pavlopetri truly special isn't just its age or preservation. It is what it tells us about human civilization. This wasn't a primitive settlement struggling for survival. It was a sophisticated urban center with advanced infrastructure, international trade connections, specialized industries, and complex social organization. It challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about ancient capabilities and reminds us that human ingenuity and community organization have deep roots in our shared past. As we leave the submerged streets of Pavlopetri behind, we carry with us a profound appreciation for the continuity of human experience. The desires for community, commerce, beauty, and meaning that drove Pavlopetri's inhabitants are the same drives that motivate us today. Their city beneath the waves serves as both a window into our past and a mirror reflecting our enduring human nature. Chapter 3. Japan's Underwater Enigma. In the crystal-clear waters off Japan's remote Yonaguni Island, 100 kilometers east of Taiwan, lies one of archaeology's most controversial discoveries. Rising from the seabed like a scene from a science fiction movie, the Yonaguni Monument challenges everything we think we know about ancient human capabilities. Is it a natural formation carved by millions of years of geological processes, or is it evidence of a lost civilization that possessed architectural knowledge far beyond what we believed possible for their time? The story begins in 1986 when Kiyashiro Aratake, a local diving tour operator, was exploring the waters near Yonaguni Island in search of hammerhead sharks. What he found instead would spark decades of heated debate among scientists, archaeologists, and alternative history enthusiasts. The rectangular rock formation, known as the Yonaguni Monument, measures 100 meters by 60 meters and stands about 25 meters tall, creating an imposing underwater landscape that resembles a massive step pyramid. Picture yourself descending through the clear Pacific waters toward this enigmatic structure. As you approach, you're struck by the geometric precision of what lies before you. The monument features remarkably straight lines, perfect right angles, and what appear to be deliberate steps carved into the rock face. The formation includes parallel bedding planes and numerous sets of parallel, vertically oriented joints that create the rectangular formation seen throughout the area. The monument's discoverer, Professor Masaki Kimura from the University of the Ryukyus, has spent over 15 years studying the site and believes passionately that it represents the remains of an ancient civilization. Kimura claims to have identified quarry marks in the stone, rudimentary characters etched onto carved faces, and rocks sculpted into the likenesses of animals. His underwater surveys have mapped what he believes to be not just a single structure, but an entire submerged city complex. According to Kimura's interpretation, the monument is far more than a simple pyramid. He has identified 10 structures off Yonaguni and 5 additional related structures off the main island of Okinawa, including what he describes as the ruins of a castle, a triumphal arch, and 5 temples. If accurate, this would represent one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in human history. The age of the Yonaguni monument is central to the debate about its origins. Kimura initially estimated that the formation must be at least 10,000 years old, but later revised this to 2,000 to 3,000 years ago when sea levels were closer to current levels. The earlier dating is particularly controversial because it would place the monument's construction during the last ice age, when sea levels were significantly lower and the area was dry land. This timeline intersects intriguingly with Japanese prehistory. If the structures are indeed man-made, one possibility is that they were created by the prehistoric Jomon people, who existed from about 12,000 BC to around 300 BC and developed a sophisticated culture. The Jomon were remarkable for being among the first cultures on Earth to develop pottery, and they created complex settlements throughout the Japanese archipelago. But the natural formation theory has equally compelling proponents. Geologist Robert Schoch from Boston University represents the scientific mainstream in his analysis of Yonaguni. Schoch observes that the sandstones making up the formation contain numerous well-defined, parallel bedding planes along which the layers easily separate, and notes that the area's earthquake-prone location tends to fracture rocks in regular patterns. Schoch emphasizes that similar formations exist on the northeast coast of Yonaguni above water, suggesting that the underwater monument is simply a submerged extension of natural geological processes. He argues that what appear to be artificial modifications are actually the result of natural weathering, underwater currents, and marine organisms exploiting weaknesses in the rock. The debate becomes even more complex when we consider the monument's cultural context. Some researchers connect the Yonaguni to the mythical lost continent of Mu, described in various Pacific traditions as an advanced civilization that was destroyed by a great cataclysm. While mainstream archaeology treats such connections skeptically, they add another layer of intrigue to an already mysterious site. The technical challenges of studying Yonaguni add to the complexity of reaching definitive conclusions. The structure is submerged about 25 meters beneath the surface, and powerful underwater currents make detailed archaeological investigation extremely difficult. Unlike terrestrial archaeological sites, where every fragment can be carefully cataloged and analyzed, underwater locations present unique preservation and access challenges. One of the most compelling aspects of the monument debate is the quality of the alleged artificial features. Critics point out that you cannot actually climb the apparent steps because they are too large for human use, suggesting they may be natural formations rather than functional architecture. Additionally, the lack of clear artifacts like tools, pottery, or other cultural materials that typically accompany ancient settlements weakens the case for human construction. The phenomenon of pareidolia, our tendency to see familiar patterns in random formations, may play a role in how different observers interpret Yonaguni. Just as we might see faces in clouds or on Mars, the human brain is predisposed to recognize architectural features in natural rock formations. This psychological factor doesn't definitively resolve the debate, but it does suggest caution in interpreting what we see beneath the waves. Modern technology is gradually providing new tools for analyzing the monument. Advanced sonar mapping, underwater photography, and geological sampling techniques are slowly building a more complete picture of Yonaguni's composition and formation history. However, each new piece of evidence seems to generate as many questions as answers. The Yonaguni monument also raises broader questions about how we understand ancient human capabilities. If it is indeed artificial, It would suggest that prehistoric peoples possessed engineering and construction skills far in advance of what conventional archaeology attributes to them. This possibility both excites and concerns researchers, as it could require significant revisions to our understanding of human technological development. The monument's location adds another layer of significance to the debate. Yonaguni Island sits at the intersection of several tectonic plates in one of the world's most geologically active regions. This location makes it particularly susceptible to earthquakes and volcanic activity that could either create natural formations, resembling architecture, or destroy artificial structures built by ancient peoples. From a tourism and cultural perspective, Yonaguni has become a pilgrimage site for both serious researchers and curious travelers. The monument is accessible to experienced divers, and local operators offer guided tours to explore the site safely despite the challenging underwater conditions. This accessibility allows people to form their own opinions about what they're seeing, though it also raises concerns about potential damage to the site from increased visitation. The Yonaguni Monument ultimately represents something larger than just an archaeological mystery. It embodies our fundamental human desire to understand our origins and capabilities. Whether natural or artificial, it challenges us to think carefully about evidence, remain open to new possibilities, and recognize the limits of our current knowledge. As we ascend from the depths of Yonaguni's mysterious waters, we leave left not with definitive answers, but with a profound appreciation for the complexity of interpreting the past. The monument serves as a reminder that our oceans still hold countless secrets, and that the line between natural wonder and human achievement may sometimes be far more blurred than we realize. Whether carved by ancient hands or sculpted by geological forces, Yonaguni stands as a testament to the extraordinary powers that have shaped our world and continue to challenge our understanding of it. Chapter 4. Krishna's Lost Kingdom. Deep beneath the Arabian Sea off the coast of Gujarat, India, lies what may be one of the most spiritually significant underwater archaeological sites ever discovered. This is Dwarka, the legendary city of Lord Krishna, where mythology meets marine archaeology in a discovery that has profound implications for understanding both ancient Indian history and the factual basis of religious texts. For millions of Hindus worldwide, Krishna is not merely a mythological figure, but a historical person who ruled from this magnificent coastal kingdom over 5,000 years ago. The ancient texts paint an extraordinary picture of Dwarka's splendor. According to the Mahabharata, Dwarka had 900,000 royal palaces, all constructed with crystal and silver and decorated with emeralds, connected by an elaborate system of boulevards, roads, marketplaces, assembly houses, and temples. The Sanskrit word Dwarka means door or gateway, reflecting the city's role as India's primary maritime entrance for foreign visitors and traders. According to legend, Krishna settled in Dwarka after defeating and killing his uncle Kamsa at Mathura, and is said to have reclaimed 12 yojanas or 96 square kilometers of land from the sea to create the city. This detail about land reclamation is particularly intriguing from an archaeological perspective, as it suggests advanced knowledge of coastal engineering and marine construction techniques. The modern search for Krishna's Dwarka began in earnest in the 1930s, but the breakthrough discoveries came much later. During 1983 to 1990, the Marine Archaeology Unit of India's National Institute of Oceanography carried out extensive underwater excavations at Dwarka and nearby Bet Dwarka. What they found beneath the Arabian Sea would challenge skeptics and inspire believers in ways no one anticipated. Picture yourself diving through the warm waters of the Arabian Sea, descending toward the seabed 30 to 40 feet below the surface. The underwater explorations yielded a large number of scattered stone structures that are well-dressed and lying in 3 to 6 meter water depth, with similar structures also visible in the intertidal zone during low tide. These aren't random rocks or natural formations. They show clear evidence of human construction and urban planning. The archaeological evidence is compelling. Excavations at two sites led to the discovery of submerged settlements in the form of exterior and interior walls, fort bastions, and remnants of an entire city. The discovery of triangular stone anchors with 3 holes provides evidence of sophisticated harbor facilities, suggesting this was indeed a major maritime trading center. The scale of the underwater city is breathtaking. The submerged structures span approximately 84 kilometers, matching descriptions in ancient texts of a fortified city where the Gomti River meets the Arabian Sea. The urban layout reveals careful planning, with distinct residential, commercial, and religious districts connected by an organized street system. One of the most significant aspects of the Dwarka discoveries is their age. Carbon dating of pottery found at the site proved it to be more than 3,000 years old, with some researchers suggesting the city could be up to 3,500 years old. This dating aligns remarkably well with traditional Hindu chronologies that place Krishna's life around 3,100 BCE. The artifacts recovered from underwater Dwarka tell a story of a sophisticated civilization. Along with the stone structures, archaeologists discovered numerous stone anchors, indicating this was indeed an active port that played a crucial role in maritime trade. The variety and quantity of anchors suggest that Dwarka hosted ships from across the Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean trading networks. The religious significance of these discoveries cannot be overstated. For millions of Hindus, the underwater ruins of Dwarka provide tangible evidence that Krishna was a historical figure rather than merely a mythological character. The archaeological evidence affirms Dwarka as the ancient kingdom ruled by Krishna, transforming religious faith into historical fact. The construction techniques evident in the underwater ruins suggest remarkable engineering capabilities. The precisely cut stone blocks, the systematic urban planning, and the sophisticated harbor installations all point to a civilization with advanced knowledge of construction, urban design, and marine engineering. This challenges conventional timelines that suggest such capabilities didn't develop in the Indian subcontinent until much later periods. The relationship between the archaeological Dwarka and the textual descriptions in ancient Indian literature is fascinating. The Haravamsa describes Dwarka as largely built on submerged land that was released by the ocean, which aligns perfectly with the archaeological evidence of a coastal city built on reclaimed land. This convergence of textual and physical evidence is rare in archaeology and particularly significant for understanding ancient Indian history. Recent expeditions continue to yield new discoveries. In 2025, the Archaeological Survey of India resumed underwater explorations with their Underwater Archaeology Wing, deploying archaeologists who are diving alongside marine experts to conduct detailed investigations. These modern expeditions use cutting-edge sonar mapping, underwater photography, and precision sampling techniques to document and analyze the submerged structures. The artifacts found at Dwarka span multiple historical periods, indicating continuous occupation over many centuries. In 2007, the Underwater Archaeology Wing discovered ancient structural remains 131 feet beneath the ocean surface, along with 30 copper coins found near the Dwarkadish temple. These coins provide evidence of the site's continued importance as a religious and commercial center well into the historical period. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Dwarka research is how it validates ancient Indian knowledge systems. The discovery proves that the Dwarka mentioned in the Mahabharata, Haravamsa, Matsya, and Vayu Puranas actually existed and was submerged in the 2nd millennium BC. This validation of ancient texts has profound implications for how we understand other historical and religious literature from ancient India. The submergence of Dwarka is traditionally attributed to divine intervention following Krishna's departure from the earthly realm. but archaeological analysis suggests more mundane explanations. The Arabian Sea coastline is geologically active, with tectonic movements, sea level changes, and coastal erosion all playing roles in the city's eventual submersion. The soft sediments and clay foundation beneath much of the ancient city would have made it particularly vulnerable to seismic activity. The modern city of Dwarka, built near the ancient site, remains one of Hinduism's most important pilgrimage destinations. It is one of the 4 main holy sites in the Char Dham pilgrimage and one of the 7 sacred cities, Saptapuri, for spiritual liberation. The presence of the underwater ruins adds profound meaning to contemporary religious practices, connecting modern pilgrims directly to their ancient heritage. The international significance of Dwarka extends beyond Indian archaeology. The site provides crucial insights into ancient maritime cultures, urban planning, and the intersection of religious traditions with historical fact. The sophisticated harbor installations and international artifacts found at the site demonstrate that ancient Indian civilizations were active participants in global trade networks much earlier than previously understood. Current conservation challenges at Dwarka mirror those facing underwater archaeological sites worldwide. Marine pollution, illegal fishing practices, and uncontrolled tourism all threaten the preservation of this invaluable cultural heritage. The delicate balance between making the site accessible for research and pilgrimage while protecting its irreplaceable archaeological value requires careful management and international cooperation. The technological innovations developed for studying Dwarka have applications for underwater archaeology globally. Advanced sonar mapping techniques, precision underwater photography, and non-invasive sampling methods pioneered at the site are now being used at other submerged archaeological locations around the world. As we surface from our exploration of Krishna's underwater kingdom, we're struck by how Dwarka represents the convergence of faith, history, and scientific discovery. Whether approached from a religious, historical, or archaeological perspective, the submerged city offers profound insights into human civilization's ancient achievements. The ruins beneath the Arabian Sea stand as testament to the sophisticated cultures that flourished in ancient India and remind us that many of our most cherished traditions may have deeper historical roots than we ever imagined. The ongoing research at Dwarka continues to yield new insights about ancient Indian civilization, maritime technology, and urban development. Each expedition brings us closer to understanding not just what this ancient city was, but what it means for our broader understanding of human cultural development and the reliability of ancient texts as historical sources. Chapter 5. Rome's Sunken Vegas. Imagine a place where Roman emperors came to party, philosophers came to think, and the wealthy elite came to indulge in every conceivable pleasure. Welcome to ancient Baia, the Las Vegas of the Roman Empire, a hedonistic resort town on the Bay of Naples, where moral boundaries were as fluid as the thermal springs that made the city famous. Today, this legendary playground of the ancients lies partially submerged beneath the Gulf of Naples, creating one of the world's most fascinating underwater archaeological parks. Baia was the ultimate destination for wealthy Romans seeking relaxation, rejuvenation, and recreation. Built around natural hot springs with supposed healing properties, the city became synonymous with luxury, excess, and moral abandon. Roman writers described it as a place where married women became adulteresses, where senators forgot their dignity, and where even the most austere citizens let down their guard in pursuit of pleasure. The city's reputation was legendary, even in its own time. Cicero called it a place of luxury and moral corruption, while other Roman philosophers warned about the dangers of spending too much time in its intoxicating atmosphere. The poet Ovid described Baia as a place suitable for love, while Martial noted that no bay in the world shines more brightly than pleasant Baia. Picture yourself walking through Baia at its height during the 1st century. Add Magnificent villas cascade down hillsides toward the bay, their terraced gardens offering spectacular views across the water toward the islands of Sia and Procida. Steam rises from elaborate bath complexes where senators and merchants relax in naturally heated pools while discussing politics and business. The air is filled with the sounds of laughter, music, and animated conversation in multiple languages as visitors from across the empire mingle in this cosmopolitan resort. The archaeological remains of Baia reveal the incredible sophistication of Roman engineering and architecture. Massive concrete vaults demonstrate advanced construction techniques, while elaborate mosaic floors and frescoed walls show the artistic refinement expected by the city's wealthy clientele. The thermal baths weren't simple pools, but complex facilities with different temperature zones, massage rooms, exercise areas, and social spaces designed for both relaxation and networking. Several Roman emperors maintained palaces in Baia, adding their own architectural contributions to the city's grandeur. Augustus had a villa there, as did Tiberius, Caligula, Nero, and many others. These imperial residences weren't just homes. The political centers where crucial decisions affecting the entire Roman Empire were made while their occupants relaxed in luxury. The city's underwater preservation has created an extraordinary archaeological resource. Unlike many Roman sites that were built over by later civilizations, Baia's submersion protected its structures from medieval and modern development. Divers today can swim through rooms that once hosted emperors, examining intact floor mosaics, wall decorations, and architectural details that have been preserved by centuries under the sea. The cause of Baia's submersion lies in the region's unique geological characteristics. The area sits within the Phlegrean Fields, one of the world's most active volcanic regions. This volcanic activity that originally created the hot springs that made Baia famous also caused a gradual subsidence that eventually claimed parts of the city. Over several centuries, beginning in the 3rd century AD, seismic activity and bradyseism, the slow vertical movement of land, caused portions of the ancient resort to sink below sea level. The process wasn't sudden or catastrophic like the earthquake that claimed Pavlopetri or the tsunami that may have destroyed Thonis Heraclean. Instead, Baia experienced a gradual decline as rising waters slowly claimed more and more of the city. This slow submersion meant that valuable items were likely removed before areas became uninhabitable, but it also meant that architectural features were preserved in their original positions. Today, Baia's underwater sections can be explored through guided diving tours, glass-bottom boat excursions, and snorkeling adventures. The submerged ruins include several distinct complexes: the Villa dei Pisoni with its elaborate mosaic floors, the Nymphaeum of Emperor Claudius with its remarkable statue collection, and various bath complexes that demonstrate the sophisticated hydraulic engineering of Roman architects. The preservation of statuary in underwater Baia is particularly remarkable. Marble sculptures that would have deteriorated if left exposed to air and weather have been protected by their aquatic environment. Statues of gods, emperors, and mythological figures stand in underwater niches in courtyards, creating an ethereal atmosphere that modern visitors find both beautiful and haunting. Recent technological advances have revolutionized the study and presentation of underwater Baia. 3D mapping techniques allow researchers to create detailed virtual reconstructions of submerged structures, while underwater photography and videography enable people worldwide to explore the site virtually. Plans for expanded underwater museums and visitor facilities aim to make this unique archaeological resource accessible to broader audiences. The artifacts recovered from Baia provide insights into the daily life of wealthy Romans during the empire's golden age. Luxury items including jewelry, perfume bottles, dining implements, and decorative objects reveal the sophisticated tastes and international connections of the city's inhabitants. The diversity of artifacts also demonstrates the cosmopolitan character of this ancient resort. with influences from across the Mediterranean world. The city's role in Roman politics was as significant as its reputation for pleasure. Many crucial political decisions were made in Baia's relaxed atmosphere, away from the formal constraints of Rome itself. The informal networking that occurred in the city's baths and villas often had major implications for imperial policy and administration. Modern conservation efforts at Baia face unique challenges related to underwater preservation. Marine growth, water pollution, and diving tourism all pose threats to the ancient structures, while the ongoing geological activity that caused the original submersion continues to affect the site. Balancing archaeological preservation with public access requires careful management and ongoing monitoring. The educational value of Baia extends far beyond archaeology into environmental science, geology, and marine biology. The site serves as a natural laboratory for studying how human-made structures interact with marine environments over extended periods. The colonization of ancient buildings by marine life creates unique ecosystems that offer insights into both natural and cultural heritage preservation. Baia also represents a fascinating case study in how changing sea levels and geological processes have affected human civilizations throughout history. The city, as gradual submersion, provides a model for understanding how contemporary coastal cities might be affected by rising sea levels associated with climate change. The connection between ancient Baia and modern environmental concerns adds contemporary relevance to this ancient site. As coastal cities worldwide grapple with rising sea levels and increased storm activity, the example of Baia offers both historical perspective and practical lessons about adaptation and preservation strategies. As we emerge from the submerged pleasure palaces of ancient Rome's most infamous resort, we're reminded that human desires for luxury, leisure, and social connection transcend historical periods. The underwater ruins of Baia preserve not just stone and mortar, but the dreams and ambitions of people who sought beauty, comfort, and meaning in their lives. Desires that remain remarkably consistent across the centuries. Chapter 6. The Wickedest City on Earth. Picture the most notorious pirate haven in history, a place where buccaneer legends like Henry Morgan counted their Spanish gold, where taverns never closed, and where the promise of easy wealth drew adventurers from across the globe. This was Port Royal, Jamaica, in the late 17th century, a city so infamous for its debauchery and lawlessness that it was known as the wickedest city on earth. Then, in a matter of minutes on June 7, 1692, divine judgment seemed to strike as a massive earthquake sent two-thirds of this Caribbean Sodom crashing into the sea. Port Royal's story begins with its strategic location at the tip of the Palisadoes, a narrow spit of land protecting Kingston Harbor on Jamaica's south coast. When the English captured Jamaica from the Spanish in 1655, they recognized the potential of this natural harbor and began developing it as a naval base and commercial center. What they created exceeded even their wildest expectations, becoming the unofficial capital of Caribbean piracy and one of the wealthiest cities in the New World. The city's prosperity was built on privateering, legalized piracy that allowed English captains to attack Spanish ships and settlements with official government backing. Port Royal became the distribution center for this stolen wealth, with pirates bringing their captured treasure to be divided, sold, and spent in spectacular fashion. By the 1660s, the city hosted more pirates than any other location in the Caribbean, creating a unique culture where former enemies became business partners and violence was just another form of commerce. Walk through Port Royal's streets in its heyday, and you'd witness scenes that would shame the most debauched modern cities. The waterfront district packed nearly 6,500 people into just 51 acres, making it more densely populated than London. Taverns, brothels, and gambling houses operated around the clock, fueled by an endless stream of Spanish silver and gold. Pirates would arrive with ships full of treasure and leave weeks later penniless, having spent their fortunes on rum, women, and cards. The wealth that flowed through Port Royal was staggering. Contemporary accounts describe pirates throwing away money as fast as they could steal it, with some spending 2,000 to 3,000 pieces of eight in a single night of revelry. The city's merchants, many of whom were former pirates themselves, grew incredibly wealthy by providing services to these free-spending customers. Fine houses, elaborate churches, and sophisticated commercial buildings rose from what had been a simple fishing village just decades earlier. But Port Royal wasn't just a pirate haven. It was a legitimate commercial center that served as the hub for English trade throughout the Caribbean. Sugar, slaves, manufactured goods, and raw materials all passed through the city's busy harbor, creating a complex economy that mixed legal commerce with outright criminality. The city's merchants maintained connections with trading houses in London, Boston, and New York, making Port Royal a crucial link in the emerging Atlantic economy. The religious and moral climate of Port Royal was as notorious as its economic activities. While the city had several churches and many residents considered themselves good Christians, the prevailing attitude toward sin was remarkably tolerant. Prostitution was not just legal but regulated, with the city collecting taxes on the earnings of sex workers. Gambling was endemic, dueling was common, and public drunkenness was so normal that it barely attracted attention. The social structure of Port Royal reflected its unique character. At the top were successful pirate captains who had invested their plunder in legitimate businesses, becoming respectable merchants and plantation owners. Below them were active privateers and their crews, followed by the shopkeepers, craftsmen, and service workers who catered to their needs. At the bottom were slaves, indentured servants, and the desperately poor who hoped to find opportunities in this lawless frontier society. Then came June 7, 1692, a date that would live in infamy as one of the most dramatic natural disasters in colonial American history. At 11:43 a.m., as merchants conducted business and children played in the streets, the earth began to shake with unprecedented violence. The earthquake lasted only 2 minutes, but those 2 minutes changed Caribbean history forever. The devastation was catastrophic and immediate. The sandy soil beneath Port Royal liquefied during the earthquake, causing entire city blocks to slide into Kingston Harbor. Massive 3- and 4-story brick buildings disappeared beneath the waves in seconds, taking their occupants with them. Ships anchored in the harbor were lifted by giant waves and carried inland, coming to rest on top of buildings and in town squares. Contemporary accounts describe scenes of unimaginable horror and chaos. The Reverend Emmanuel Heath, who survived the disaster, wrote that, "In the space of 3 minutes, Port Royal, the fairest town of all the English plantations, exceeding in its splendor, the city of Panama was shaken and shattered to pieces, sunk into and covered for the greater part by the sea. Nearly 2,000 people died immediately, with thousands more injured or left homeless." The underwater archaeology of Port Royal has provided unprecedented insights into 17th century colonial life. Because the city sank rapidly and was quickly covered by sediment, it was preserved like a time capsule. Underwater excavations beginning in the 1950s have recovered thousands of artifacts that offer intimate glimpses into daily life in this notorious city. The preserved buildings reveal sophisticated architecture and urban planning. Multi-story brick structures with tile roofs, glass windows, and complex floor plans demonstrate that Port Royal was far more than a crude pirate settlement. The quality of construction and the presence of luxury items indicate a level of wealth and refinement that challenges stereotypical images of colonial Caribbean society. Artifacts recovered from the underwater ruins tell fascinating stories about Port Royal's inhabitants. Fine ceramics imported from England, delicate glassware, expensive jewelry, and sophisticated scientific instruments reveal the cosmopolitan tastes of the city's wealthy residents. Military equipment, weapons, and navigational tools document the maritime culture that dominated the city's economy. The preservation conditions in Port Royal's underwater environment have been exceptional for organic materials that rarely survive in terrestrial archaeological sites. Wooden structures, leather goods, textiles, and even food remains have been recovered in remarkable condition, providing unique insights into colonial material culture and daily life. One of the most significant discoveries has been the remains of numerous buildings still in their original positions on the seafloor. These structures, complete with their contents, offer unparalleled opportunities to study colonial architecture, urban planning, and domestic life. The rapid submersion means that buildings contain the possessions their inhabitants were using when the earthquake struck. The archaeological evidence has also provided new perspectives on Port Royal's reputation for wickedness. While the city certainly hosted more than its share of criminal activity, the material remains reveal a complex society with sophisticated social institutions, successful businesses, and legitimate cultural achievements. The simplified image of Port Royal as purely a den of iniquity doesn't match the archaeological reality of a diverse, economically vibrant community. Modern conservation efforts at Port Royal face unique challenges related to its underwater location and continued seismic activity. The same geological forces that destroyed the original city continue to affect the site, requiring careful monitoring and protection strategies. Marine growth, pollution, and unauthorized diving all pose threats to the irreplaceable archaeological resources preserved beneath Kingston Harbor. Recent technological advances have revolutionized the study of underwater Port Royal. High-resolution sonar mapping, precision underwater photography, and advanced conservation techniques allow researchers to document and preserve artifacts that would have been impossible to study using earlier methods. These technologies also enable virtual reconstructions that bring the lost city back to life for modern audiences. The lessons of Port Royal extend far beyond archaeology into contemporary concerns about natural disasters, urban planning, and coastal vulnerability. The city's destruction demonstrates how quickly human achievements can be erased by natural forces, while its preservation underwater provides invaluable insights into colonial society and culture. The moral interpretations of Port Royal's destruction have evolved over time. While 17th century observers saw the earthquake as divine punishment for the city's sins, modern perspectives focus on geological and social factors that made the disaster inevitable. The city's location on unstable sandy soil, its rapid growth without adequate planning, and its position in a seismically active region all contributed to the magnitude of the catastrophe. As we surface from our exploration of Port Royal's submerged streets and collapsed buildings, we're reminded that human societies, no matter how wealthy or powerful, remain vulnerable to natural forces beyond their control. The underwater ruins of the wickedest city on Earth serve as both a fascinating window into colonial Caribbean life and a sobering reminder of the impermanence of human achievements. Chapter 7. Europe's Lost Atlantis. Imagine a vast landscape stretching from modern-day Britain to Scandinavia, not ocean, but rolling hills, dense forests, rushing rivers, and fertile plains teeming with wildlife. Picture Mesolithic hunters tracking giant aurochs through ancient woodlands, families gathering shellfish along freshwater lakes, and children playing in settlements that connected what are now isolated islands. This wasn't a fantasy world. This was Doggerland, a prehistoric landscape larger than modern Britain that once connected Europe to the British Isles before rising seas claimed it forever. Today, where the North Sea churns between England and Denmark, archaeologists are racing against time to uncover evidence of one of Europe's most significant lost civilizations. Doggerland represents perhaps the greatest archaeological challenge of our time, investigating an entire submerged continent that was home to thousands of people for millennia before disappearing beneath the waves around 8,200 years ago. The story of Doggerland begins with ice. During the last ice age, which ended roughly 11,500 years ago, massive glaciers locked up so much of the world's water that global sea levels were 130 meters lower than today. The North Sea and much of the English Channel were dry land, creating a vast plain that modern researchers have nicknamed Doggerland after the Dogger Bank, a shallow area where fishing nets have pulled up ancient artifacts for over a century. This lost landscape was an empty wilderness, but a thriving ecosystem that may have supported some of the densest prehistoric populations in Europe. Climate reconstructions suggest that Doggerland enjoyed a temperate maritime climate with abundant freshwater rivers, extensive wetlands, and rich forests of oak, pine, and birch. The region would have been a prehistoric paradise, offering everything early humans needed to thrive. Archaeological evidence for Doggerland's human inhabitants comes from an unlikely source: the nets of North Sea fishing boats. For generations, fishermen have pulled up mammoth bones, ancient tools, and other prehistoric artifacts while trawling the shallow waters between Britain and the Netherlands. These accidental discoveries, combined with systematic underwater surveys, have revealed evidence of human occupation spanning thousands of years. The most famous Doggerland discovery came in 1931 when the fishing vessel Kalinda hauled up a barbed antler point from the Lemanour Banks, 25 miles off the English coast. This 8,500-year-old harpoon tip, carved from red deer antler, represented the first direct evidence of human habitation in the drowned landscape. Since then, hundreds of similar artifacts have been recovered, painting a picture of sophisticated hunter-gatherer societies that thrived in this lost world. Recent advances in underwater archaeology have revolutionized our understanding of Doggerland. The Subnautica project, a collaboration between British, Dutch, and Danish researchers, is using advanced seabed mapping, computer simulation, and AI analysis to reconstruct the lost landscape in unprecedented detail. These techniques reveal river systems, coastlines, and landforms that existed when early humans called Doggerland home. The scale of Doggerland's human occupation is staggering. Researchers estimate that the submerged landscape may have supported populations larger than those of the British Isles and continental Europe combined during the Mesolithic period. The region's extensive coastlines, rivers, and wetlands would have provided abundant resources for hunter-gatherer societies, supporting larger and more complex communities than previously thought possible. Evidence suggests that Doggerland wasn't just populated, but may have served as a crucial cultural bridge between continental Europe and Britain. Similarities in tool technologies, artistic styles, and burial practices across this region indicate extensive contact and cultural exchange. Rather than being isolated islands, prehistoric Britain and Ireland were connected to the continent by land routes that facilitated the movement of people, ideas, and innovations. The submergence of Doggerland wasn't a sudden, catastrophic event, but a gradual process that unfolded over several millennia. As global temperatures rose following the end of the Ice Age, glaciers melted and sea levels began to rise. The flat, low-lying landscape of Doggerland was particularly vulnerable to these changes, with vast areas disappearing beneath the waves as sea levels rose just a few meters. However, the final disappearance of Doggerland may have been accelerated by a dramatic event around 8,200 years ago. Geological evidence points to a massive underwater landslide off the coast of Norway, known as the Storegga Slide, which would have generated a devastating tsunami that swept across the remaining Doggerland landscape. This catastrophic wave may have been the final blow that completed the submergence of Europe's lost continent. The human response to Doggerland's gradual submergence represents one of the earliest recorded examples of climate adaptation in human history. As rising waters claimed low-lying areas, communities would have been forced to migrate to higher ground, eventually retreating to what are now the British Isles and the European mainland. This mass migration may have contributed to the Neolithic revolution in northern Europe as displaced populations brought new technologies and cultural practices to their new homes. Modern research techniques are revealing Doggerland landscapes in remarkable detail. Seismic surveys can map ancient river channels, lake beds, and coastal features buried beneath layers of marine sediment. These surveys have identified potential archaeological sites that may contain preserved settlement remains, offering tantalizing glimpses of Stone Age communities that have been underwater for 8 millennia. The preservation conditions in Doggerland may be exceptional for organic materials that rarely survive in terrestrial archaeological sites. The cold, oxygen-poor environment beneath the North Sea could have preserved wooden structures, textiles, and other perishable artifacts that would provide unprecedented insights into Mesolithic life. The discovery of such materials would revolutionize our understanding of prehistoric European cultures. Current research is focusing on several promising areas where geological conditions suggest the potential for finding preserved archaeological sites. Advanced underwater survey techniques are identifying locations where former river confluences, coastal areas, or higher elevations may have supported permanent settlements. These investigations require international cooperation and significant funding due to the challenging conditions and vast scale of the underwater landscape. The environmental implications of Doggerland research extend far beyond archaeology. The study of this drowned landscape provides crucial insights into how coastal ecosystems respond to rapid climate change and rising sea levels. Understanding how prehistoric communities adapted to environmental change offers valuable lessons for contemporary societies facing similar challenges. The technological innovations developed for Doggerland research are advancing underwater archaeology worldwide. New methods for deep-sea mapping, sediment analysis, and artifact recovery in challenging marine environments are being refined and applied to other submerged archaeological sites around the globe. These advances are opening new frontiers for understanding human adaptation to environmental change throughout history. One of the most intriguing aspects of Doggerland research is its potential to rewrite the story of human migration and cultural development in Northern Europe. If the region supported large, sophisticated populations, as suggested by current evidence, it may have been a major center for technological innovation and cultural exchange rather than a peripheral backwater. The submergence of this cultural heartland would have dispersed its inhabitants across Europe, potentially explaining similarities in archaeological cultures that previously seemed puzzling. The conservation challenges facing Doggerland research are unique and urgent. Unlike terrestrial archaeological sites that can be protected and studied over decades, underwater sites are threatened by ongoing commercial fishing, offshore development, and climate change effects. The construction of North Sea wind farms, while environmentally beneficial, may disturb archaeological deposits before they can be properly investigated. The public engagement aspects of Doggerland research capture imaginations worldwide. The concept of a lost continent connecting Britain to Europe resonates with people interested in both archaeological discovery and climate change impacts. Educational programs and virtual reconstructions help people understand both the scientific importance of the research and its relevance to contemporary environmental challenges. The international nature of Doggerland research demonstrates how archaeological investigation can transcend modern national boundaries. The prehistoric landscape ignored modern political divisions, and its investigation requires cooperation between British, Dutch, German, Danish, and Norwegian researchers. This collaboration serves as a model for international archaeological cooperation on other large-scale underwater projects. As we contemplate this vast drowned landscape, we're reminded that our familiar maps and national boundaries are recent inventions in human terms. The story of Doggerland challenges us to think about landscape and identity in broader terms, recognizing that the places we call home have been shaped by forces much larger and older than human civilization. The lost continent beneath the North Sea serves as both a window into our prehistoric past and a preview of potential futures as rising sea levels once again threaten coastal communities worldwide. Chapter 8. China's Atlantis. In the crystal-clear depths of Chanda Lake in China, Zhejiang Province, lies one of the world's most perfectly preserved underwater cities. Known as Xicheng or Lion City, this submerged metropolis represents a unique chapter in underwater archaeology, not an ancient ruin claimed by natural disaster, but a deliberate sacrifice of cultural heritage in the name of progress. The story of Lion City challenges us to consider what we are willing to lose in pursuit of modernization and what treasures might be waiting beneath the surfaces of artificial lakes worldwide. Lion City wasn't ancient when it was submerged in 1959, but it was extraordinary. Founded over 1,300 years ago during the Eastern Han Dynasty, the city had grown into a magnificent example of traditional Chinese architecture and urban planning. Named for the nearby Wuxi Mountain, Five Lion Mountain, the city served as a center of culture, commerce, and craftsmanship in the region for more than a millennium. Picture walking through Lion City streets in 1958, just before the waters rose. Elegant courtyard houses with traditional curved roofs line narrow cobblestone streets, their walls adorned with intricate stone carvings depicting dragons, phoenixes, and scenes from Chinese mythology. Ancient temples with multi-tier pagodas dominate the skyline, while traditional bridges arc gracefully over canals that would soon become much deeper waterways. The city's architecture represented centuries of Chinese building traditions. Five-story buildings constructed without modern materials demonstrated sophisticated engineering techniques passed down through generations. Elaborate stone gateways marked entrances to different districts, while memorial arches honored local heroes and scholars. The level of craftsmanship in everything from door frames to drainage systems reflected a culture that valued both functionality and beauty. The decision to flood Lion City was part of China's ambitious plan to build the Shenan Dam for hydroelectric power generation. This project would create Chandao Lake, Thousand Island Lake, submerging not just Lion City, but also the nearby city of Xicheng and numerous smaller villages. An estimated 290,000 people were relocated to make way for the artificial reservoir, representing one of the largest population displacements in Chinese history. The submergence process was methodical and complete. Unlike natural disasters that leave archaeological sites in chaos, the controlled flooding of Lion City preserved its urban layout almost perfectly. Streets, buildings, and infrastructure remained in their original positions, creating what amounts to a 3D museum of traditional Chinese urban life preserved beneath 40 meters of fresh water. For nearly 5 decades after its submersion, Lion City remained largely forgotten. The Chinese government had more pressing concerns than underwater archaeology, and the technology for safely exploring such depths was still developing. The city existed in a kind of limbo, not quite destroyed, but not accessible to researchers or the public who might appreciate its historical significance. The rediscovery of Lion City as an archaeological treasure began in 2001 when the Chinese National Geography magazine sponsored an underwater expedition to explore Chandao Lake's depths. What the diving team found exceeded all expectations. Instead of the deteriorated ruins they anticipated, they discovered structures in remarkable condition, protected by the lake's cold, fresh water from the decay that affects most historical sites. The preservation conditions in Chanda Lake have been extraordinary. The freshwater environment, relatively stable temperature, and lack of strong currents have protected wooden structures, stone carvings, and architectural details that would have deteriorated rapidly if exposed to air and weather. Some buildings retain their original wooden staircases, window frames, and decorative elements, creating an underwater time capsule of mid-20th century Chinese traditional architecture. Underwater exploration of Lion City reveals the sophistication of Chinese urban planning and construction techniques. The city was organized around a central area with important civic and religious buildings, surrounded by residential districts connected by a logical street network. Water management systems, including canals, bridges, and drainage infrastructure, demonstrate advanced understanding of hydraulic engineering adapted to the local topography. The architectural details preserved in Lion City are breathtaking in their intricacy and craftsmanship. Stone carvings that would have taken master craftsmen months to complete remain sharp and clear underwater. Dragons and phoenixes seem to dance across building facades, while geometric patterns and calligraphy tell stories of the families and institutions that once called these buildings home. The modern exploration of Lion City has benefited from advances in underwater photography, diving technology, and archaeological documentation methods. Professional diving teams equipped with specialized cameras have created detailed photographic records of the submerged city, while underwater archaeologists have begun systematic mapping and documentation projects. The discovery of Lion City has had profound cultural implications for China. The perfectly preserved architecture represents traditional building techniques and artistic styles that were being abandoned in favor of modern construction methods when the city was flooded. In some ways, Lion City's submergence accidentally preserved cultural heritage that might otherwise have been lost to modernization and development. Tourism development around Lion City has created both opportunities and challenges. The site has become a destination for advanced recreational divers, while submarine tours allow non-divers to explore the underwater city. This tourism brings economic benefits to the region, but also raises concerns about protecting the archaeological integrity of the site. The conservation challenges facing Lion City are unique among underwater archaeological sites. Unlike ancient ruins that have been underwater for millennia, Lion City contains modern materials like concrete and steel that may not age well in the aquatic environment. Monitoring the long-term stability of these materials requires ongoing research and potentially active preservation efforts. Educational programs centered on Lion City offer unique opportunities to teach about Chinese history, urban planning, and underwater archaeology. The site serves as a case study for understanding how modernization projects affect cultural heritage and how communities adapt to major environmental and social changes. The technological innovations developed for exploring Lion City have applications for other underwater archaeological projects. Advanced underwater photography techniques, non-invasive documentation methods, and strategies for managing diving tourism at archaeological sites are being refined and applied to other submerged cultural heritage locations worldwide. Recent expeditions to Lion City continue to yield new discoveries about daily life in traditional Chinese cities. Household objects, commercial goods, and personal belongings left behind during the evacuation provide intimate glimpses into how ordinary people lived in mid-20th century China. These artifacts complement the architectural remains to create a comprehensive picture of urban life in traditional Chinese society. The international attention focused on Lion City has raised awareness about other submerged cultural heritage sites created by dam construction projects worldwide. Hundreds of archaeological sites have been flooded by reservoir construction, many without adequate documentation or preservation efforts. Lion City serves as both a positive example of post-flooding archaeological work and a reminder of what may have been lost elsewhere. The artistic inspiration provided by Lion City extends beyond archaeology into literature, film, and visual arts. The image of a perfectly preserved city beneath clear water captures imaginations worldwide, serving as a metaphor for lost worlds, submerged memories, and the relationship between progress and preservation. Current research at Lion City is focusing on long-term preservation strategies and expanded documentation efforts. Scientists are studying how the underwater environment affects different building materials and developing methods to stabilize structures that may be deteriorating. Comprehensive 3D mapping projects aim to create permanent digital records of the entire city. The social history preserved in Lion City provides valuable insights into Chinese rural and small-town life before the rapid modernization of recent decades. The layout of residential areas, the relationship between public and private spaces, and the integration of commercial and residential functions offer lessons for contemporary urban planning and community development. As we ascend from the depths of Lion City, we're confronted with complex questions about progress, preservation, and cultural continuity. The submergence of this remarkable city was a conscious choice made in pursuit of economic development and modernization. While the decision brought electric power to millions of people and contributed to China's economic growth, it also erased a living cultural landscape that had evolved over more than a millennium. Lion City forces us to consider what we are willing to sacrifice for progress and how we might better balance development needs with cultural preservation. The remarkable preservation of this underwater city offers both a cautionary tale about the costs of modernization and an inspiring example of how dedicated research can recover lost heritage even from beneath the waves. The submerged streets and buildings of Lion City remind us that our built environments are more fragile than we often realize, but also that human creativity and craftsmanship can endure in unexpected ways. As we face contemporary challenges of development, climate change, and cultural preservation, the lessons learned from China's underwater city continue to inform our choices about what to save, what to sacrifice, and how to honor the past while building the future. Chapter 9. The 7 pagodas along India's southeastern coast, where the Bay of Bengal meets the ancient shores of Tamil Nadu, stands the magnificent shore temple of Mahabalipuram. But according to local legend, this solitary granite monument was once just one of 7 magnificent temples that graced this sacred coastline. The others, known as the 7 pagodas of Mahabalipuram, are said to lie beneath the waves, claimed by the sea in a catastrophic event that has echoed through centuries of oral tradition. The surviving shore temple, built in the 8th century CE, during the reign of the Pallava dynasty, offers tantalizing clues about what lies beneath the waters. This UNESCO World Heritage Site represents the culmination of Dravidian architectural achievement, with its intricate stone carvings, soaring spires, and perfect proportions, demonstrating the sophisticated artistic and engineering capabilities of ancient South Indian civilizations. Local fishermen have passed down stories for generations about seeing temple structures beneath the waves during low tide or exceptionally clear water conditions. These weren't vague legends but detailed descriptions of carved pillars, decorated walls, and temple complexes that match the architectural style of the surviving shore temple. European visitors in the 18th and 19th centuries recorded similar accounts, lending credibility to tales that might otherwise be dismissed as folklore. The 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami provided unexpected validation for these ancient stories. As the massive waves receded from Mahabalipuram's coast, they briefly exposed stone structures that had been hidden beneath sand and surf for more than a millennium. Startled witnesses reported seeing carved animal figures, decorative pillars, and what appeared to be temple walls before subsequent waves covered them again. Archaeological investigations following the tsunami confirmed what local traditions had maintained for centuries. There are indeed substantial stone structures beneath the waters off Mahabalipuram. The Archaeological Survey of India, working with international partners, has conducted systematic underwater surveys that have identified at least 3 distinct structural complexes on the seabed within 500 meters of the shore. The underwater structures reveal architectural features consistent with Pallava period construction. Carved granite blocks, decorative pillars, and foundation remains demonstrate the same sophisticated stoneworking techniques visible in the shore temple. The scale of these submerged remains suggests temple complexes that were substantial in size and architectural ambition. Picture the original Mahabalipuram as it might have appeared in the 8th century CE. 7 magnificent temples lined the coastline, their towering spires reflecting in the Bay of Bengal. Each temple would have been a masterpiece of Dravidian architecture, with elaborately carved facades depicting scenes from Hindu mythology, intricate pillared halls for religious ceremonies, and sacred tanks for ritual ablutions. The Pallava rulers who commissioned these temples weren't simply building monuments but creating a sacred landscape that demonstrated their divine authority and cultural sophistication. These temples served multiple functions as centers of worship, repositories of learning, patrons of the arts, and symbols of royal power that could be seen by ships approaching from across the Indian Ocean. The submergence of Mahabalipuram's temples appears to have occurred gradually over several centuries rather than in a single catastrophic event. Geological analysis suggests that coastal erosion, sea level rise, and possibly seismic activity combined to claim the offshore temples one by one. The process may have been accelerated by the soft sedimentary foundation beneath the temples, which would have been vulnerable to wave action and underground water flow. The cultural impact of losing these temples would have been profound for the local communities. These weren't just buildings, but centers of religious, social, and economic life. Temple complexes employed hundreds of people as priests, musicians, dancers, craftsmen, and administrators. They served as banks, schools, hospitals, and cultural centers that touched every aspect of community life. The artistic treasures lost with the submerged temples can only be imagined based on the exquisite carvings that survive at the shore temple. Pallava sculptors were master craftsmen who created some of the finest stone carvings in Indian art history. Their work influenced temple architecture across South and Southeast Asia, establishing artistic traditions that continued for centuries. Modern underwater archaeology at Mahabalipuram faces unique challenges due to the site's coastal location and ongoing wave action. The shallow, turbulent waters make diving difficult and potentially dangerous, while sand movement constantly covers and uncovers archaeological remains. Despite these challenges, systematic surveys have documented significant structural remains that provide insights into Pallava temple architecture and construction techniques. Recent discoveries include carved lion figures, decorative pillar bases, and foundation walls that extend much further underwater than previously suspected. These finds suggest that the original temple complex may have been much larger than the surviving shore temple, possibly encompassing a sacred precinct that stretched several hundred meters along the ancient coastline. The stoneworking techniques evident in the underwater structures demonstrate remarkable skill and precision. The Pallava craftsmen worked with extremely hard granite, carving intricate details that remain sharp and clear after more than a millennium underwater. The quality of this work rivals the finest examples of Indian sculpture from any period. The religious significance of Mahabalipuram's temples extends beyond their architectural importance into the realm of Hindu cosmology and theology. The temple complex was dedicated to Lord Shiva, and the iconography carved into the surviving structures tells stories from Hindu scriptures while also serving as teaching tools for devotees who might not have been able to read sacred texts. The influence of Mahabalipuram's architectural style extended far beyond South India through maritime trade and cultural exchange. Pallava merchants, diplomats, and religious teachers carried knowledge of these architectural forms to Southeast Asia, where similar temple styles appeared in Cambodia, Java, and other regions with strong Indian cultural connections. The preservation conditions underwater at Mahabalipuram vary significantly depending on depth, sand cover, and exposure to wave action. Some carved surfaces remain remarkably detailed, while others have been worn smooth by centuries of water movement. This differential preservation creates a complex archaeological record that requires careful interpretation. The integration of natural landscape features with architectural design is evident in both the surviving shore temple and the underwater remains. Pallava architects worked with the existing topography, incorporating natural rock formations into their designs and positioning temples to take advantage of dramatic coastal views and symbolic relationships with the sea. The economic importance of Mahabalipuram's temple complex is evident from historical records that describe it as a major port and trading center. The temples weren't isolated religious institutions, but integral parts of a bustling commercial city that connected South India to maritime trade networks spanning the Indian Ocean. The loss of the temples had profound cultural consequences that extended far beyond the immediate area. These structures represented centuries of artistic development, religious tradition, and community identity. Their submergence marked the end of Mahabalipuram's role as a major cultural center, though the surviving shore temple continued to attract pilgrims and scholars. Contemporary conservation efforts at Mahabalipuram focus on protecting both the Prehistoric surviving shore temple and the underwater archaeological remains. Rising sea levels, increased storm activity, and coastal development all pose threats to this irreplaceable cultural heritage. International cooperation and advanced conservation techniques are essential for preserving what remains of this ancient sacred landscape. The educational value of Mahabalipuram extends beyond archaeology into art history, religious studies, and maritime history. The site serves as a laboratory for understanding how coastal communities adapted to environmental change, how religious institutions functioned in ancient India, and how artistic traditions spread through cultural exchange. Recent technological advances have revolutionized the study of Mahabalipuram's underwater remains. High-resolution sonar mapping, underwater photogrammetry, and marine geological surveys provide detailed documentation of submerged structures while minimizing physical disturbance to the archaeological record. The site's significance for understanding climate change impacts on cultural heritage has gained international attention. Mahabalipuram provides a historical case study of how coastal archaeological sites respond to changing sea levels and storm patterns, offering insights relevant to protecting cultural heritage sites worldwide. The spiritual dimensions of Mahabalipuram continue to resonate with contemporary visitors and pilgrims. The surviving shore temple remains an active place of worship, while the knowledge that additional sacred structures lie beneath the waves adds layers of meaning to the site's religious significance. The artistic techniques preserved in Mahabalipuram's stone carvings represent a pinnacle of achievement in Indian sculpture. The fluid lines, expressive faces, and dynamic compositions created by Pallava artists establish standards of excellence that influenced Indian art for centuries. As we wade back to shore from Mahabalipuram's submerged temples, we're reminded of the fragility of even our most magnificent cultural achievements. The 7 pagodas represent not just lost architecture but lost worlds of knowledge, artistry, and spiritual practice that took centuries to develop and can be destroyed by natural forces in relatively brief periods. The ongoing research at Mahabalipuram demonstrates how underwater archaeology can recover aspects of lost cultural heritage while also providing crucial insights into environmental change and human adaptation. Each carved stone retrieved from beneath the waves connects us to the skilled craftsmen, devoted pilgrims, and visionary rulers who created these monuments to their faith and culture. The story of Mahabalipuram's submerged temples serves as both inspiration and warning for contemporary coastal communities. It reminds us that the seas have always been both giver and taker of human civilization, supporting maritime trade and cultural exchange while also claiming coastal settlements and their treasures. Understanding this dynamic relationship becomes ever more crucial as rising sea levels threaten coastal archaeological sites and communities worldwide. Chapter 10: Modern Discoveries and Future Mysteries. As we journeyed through the sunken streets of Thonis Heraclean, walked the Bronze Age neighborhoods of Pavlopetri, and marveled at the geometric mysteries of Yonaguni, one thing becomes abundantly clear: we've only scratched the surface of what lies beneath our oceans. Every year, advancing technology and dedicated researchers reveal new underwater archaeological sites that challenge our understanding of human history, expand our knowledge of ancient civilizations, and remind us that our planet's waters hold secrets we're only beginning to discover. The pace of underwater archaeological discovery has accelerated dramatically in recent decades, driven by improvements in deep-sea technology, sonar mapping, and underwater excavation techniques. What once required massive investments and years of preparation can now be accomplished with smaller teams using more sophisticated equipment. This democratization of underwater exploration means that discoveries are happening more frequently, and in locations that were previously inaccessible. Consider the recent breakthrough in Guatemala, where later technology has revealed massive Maya settlements hidden beneath jungle canopy, while similar techniques are being adapted for underwater, used to map submerged landscapes with unprecedented precision. These technological advances allow researchers to survey vast underwater areas quickly and identify promising archaeological sites without the time and expense of traditional diving-based exploration. The Gulf of Kamhat discovery off the coast of Gujarat, India, represents one of the most potentially revolutionary underwater archaeological finds of recent years. Marine scientists conducting routine pollution studies used sonar imaging and discovered what appeared to be geometric patterns on the seafloor, formations that included man-made structures resembling fortified walls, large rectangular sections, and grid-like layouts that suggested a structured human settlement. Preliminary carbon dating of materials from the Gulf of Kamhat site suggests an age of around 9,500 years, which would make it older than most known ancient civilizations. If these dates are confirmed and the structures proven to be human-made, this discovery could fundamentally alter our understanding of when and where complex urban civilizations first developed. The site spans more than 5 miles in length and 3 miles in width, submerged 126 feet below sea level. The preservation potential of underwater archaeological sites continues to amaze researchers. Unlike terrestrial sites that face erosion, development pressure, and environmental degradation, underwater locations can preserve organic materials, wooden structures, and delicate artifacts that would decompose rapidly on land. These preservation conditions offer unprecedented opportunities to understand daily life, technology, and culture in ancient civilizations. Advances in underwater robotics are revolutionizing how we explore and document submerged archaeological sites. Autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, equipped with high-resolution cameras, sonar systems, and sampling equipment can explore depths and conditions that would be dangerous or impossible for human divers. These robotic explorers can work continuously for hours or days, systematically mapping large areas and identifying specific features for detailed investigation. The development of non-invasive archaeological techniques is particularly important for underwater sites where traditional excavation methods would be destructive or impossible. Ground-penetrating radar adapted for underwater use, advanced sonar systems that can detect buried structures, and sophisticated imaging techniques allow researchers to study archaeological sites without disturbing them. Climate change is creating both opportunities and threats for underwater archaeology. Rising sea levels are revealing previously buried coastal sites, while also threatening to submerge new areas before they can be properly studied. Melting ice sheets are exposing shipwrecks and archaeological sites that have been frozen for centuries, creating urgent needs for rapid documentation before these sites are lost to warming conditions. The integration of artificial intelligence and machine learning into underwater archaeological research is opening new possibilities for site detection and artifact analysis. AI systems can analyze sonar data to identify potential archaeological features, process underwater photographs to detect artifacts, and even predict where undiscovered sites might be located based on environmental and historical data. International collaboration in underwater archaeology has become increasingly important as researchers recognize that many submerged sites cross modern national boundaries or require expertise and resources from multiple countries. Projects like the Subnautica initiative studying Doggerland demonstrate how international cooperation can tackle archaeological challenges that no single nation could address alone. The economic implications of underwater archaeological discoveries extend far beyond academic research. Major finds can transform local tourism industries, as seen with sites like the underwater city of Lion City in China or the diving destinations created around accessible shipwreck sites. This economic potential creates incentives for countries to invest in underwater archaeological research while also raising concerns about balancing tourism development with site preservation. Training the next generation of underwater archaeologists requires specialized education programs that combine traditional archaeological skills with advanced diving techniques, marine science knowledge, and underwater technology expertise. Universities worldwide are developing degree programs specifically focused on maritime and underwater archaeology, recognizing this as a growing field with significant research potential. The legal and ethical challenges surrounding underwater archaeological sites are becoming increasingly complex as discoveries multiply and technology advances. Questions about ownership of submerged cultural heritage, the rights of descendant communities, and the balance between research access and site protection require international cooperation and carefully developed legal frameworks. Conservation of underwater archaeological sites presents unique challenges that differ significantly from terrestrial heritage preservation. Marine environments, while protective in some ways, also pose threats from pollution, fishing activities, climate change, and unauthorized disturbance. Developing effective conservation strategies requires understanding both archaeological and marine science principles. The role of citizen science in underwater archaeological discovery is expanding as recreational diving becomes more popular and accessible. Trained volunteer divers can help document known sites, report new discoveries, and participate in research projects under professional supervision. This expanded participation increases the potential for new discoveries while also building public awareness and support for underwater cultural heritage preservation. Virtual reality and digital reconstruction technologies are transforming how underwater archaeological sites are documented, studied, and shared with the public. 3D mapping and modeling techniques can recreate submerged sites in virtual environments that allow researchers and the public to explore these locations without physical diving. These virtual reconstructions also serve as permanent records that preserve site information even if the physical remains are damaged or lost. The integration of environmental and archaeological research at underwater sites is providing new insights into how ancient civilizations adapted to climate change, sea level fluctuations, and natural disasters. Understanding these historical patterns of environmental change and human adaptation offers valuable lessons for contemporary societies facing similar challenges. Emerging technologies like quantum sensors, advanced material science, and biotechnology. Applications may revolutionize underwater archaeological research in ways we can't yet fully imagine. These innovations could enable detection of archaeological sites buried under thick sediments, preservation of delicate organic materials, and exploration of depths currently beyond our reach, the discovery of submerged prehistoric landscapes, like those being revealed in the North Sea, the Mediterranean, and other locations worldwide, is expanding our understanding of human migration patterns, cultural development, and adaptation to environmental change during the Ice Ages and early Holocene period. These findings are rewriting textbooks about when and how human societies developed complex technologies and social organizations. Recent discoveries in the Caribbean have revealed extensive networks of underwater caves that contain evidence of some of the earliest human occupation in the Americas. These flooded cave systems preserve human remains, artifacts, and environmental data that provide crucial insights into how the first Americans adapted to changing coastal environments as sea levels rose following the last ice age. The Black Sea has emerged as a particularly promising area for underwater archaeological research due to its unique preservation conditions. The anoxic, oxygen-free, deep waters of the Black Sea create exceptional preservation environments where organic materials, including wooden ship hulls and human remains, can survive for millennia in near-perfect condition. Mediterranean underwater archaeology continues to yield spectacular discoveries. From Bronze Age shipwrecks carrying exotic cargoes to Roman villa complexes that demonstrate the wealth and sophistication of ancient maritime cultures. Each new find adds pieces to the puzzle of how ancient Mediterranean societies developed trade networks, cultural exchanges, and technological innovations that shaped later civilizations. The Pacific Ocean, despite its vast size and challenging diving conditions, is revealing evidence of prehistoric human adaptation to marine environments that extends back thousands of years. Underwater sites in the Pacific provide crucial evidence for understanding how early peoples developed sophisticated navigation techniques, marine resource management strategies, and island colonization capabilities. As we look toward the future of underwater archaeology, we face both tremendous opportunities and significant challenges. The potential for major discoveries remains enormous, with vast areas of the ocean floor still unexplored and new technologies constantly expanding our capabilities. However, threats from climate change, development pressure, and insufficient funding for research and conservation create urgency around protecting and studying underwater cultural heritage. The stories of lost ocean civilizations remind us that human societies have always been intimately connected to marine environments, whether through trade, migration, resource exploitation, or simple proximity to coastlines. Understanding these connections becomes increasingly important as our contemporary world grapples with rising sea levels, ocean pollution, and climate change impacts that echo challenges faced by ancient civilizations. The continuing search for underwater archaeological sites represents more than just academic curiosity or tourist attraction. These discoveries connect us to our shared human heritage, demonstrate the ingenuity and resilience of our ancestors, and provide practical lessons about adaptation, sustainability, and the relationship between human societies and their environments. As technology advances and new sites are discovered, we can expect the field of underwater archaeology to continue revealing surprises that challenge our assumptions about the past and expand our understanding of human capability and achievement. The ocean's depths still hold countless stories waiting to be told, civilizations waiting to be rediscovered, and lessons waiting to be learned from those who came before us. Chapter 11. The Neolithic village off the coast of Atlantis, Israel, beneath 8 to 10 meters of Mediterranean water, lies one of the oldest and largest submerged Neolithic settlements ever discovered. Atlantis represents a revolutionary find in underwater archaeology, a 9,000-year-old village, so well preserved that archaeologists can walk through ancient streets, examine prehistoric houses, and study artifacts that provide unprecedented insights into how our ancestors lived during humanity's transition from hunter-gatherers to agricultural societies. Picture yourself diving through the crystal-clear waters of the Eastern Mediterranean, descending toward what appears to be a modern underwater sculpture garden. As you approach the seafloor, the shapes resolve into something far more extraordinary. The remains of stone houses, ancient wells, and megalithic structures that predate Stonehenge by nearly 6,000 years. This is Atlantis, where time seems frozen at the moment when rising seas claimed a thriving prehistoric community. The discovery of Atlantis in 1984 by marine archaeologist Ehud Galili revolutionized our understanding of Neolithic coastal settlements. Unlike most prehistoric sites that survive only as scattered artifacts and post holes, Atlantis presents a complete village layout with rectangular houses, courtyards, storage areas, and public spaces arranged in a logical community plan that reveals sophisticated social organization among our Neolithic ancestors. The preservation at Atlantis is nothing short of miraculous. The anaerobic conditions beneath layers of sand and clay have protected organic materials that normally decompose within decades. Wooden tools, rope, textiles, and even human remains have survived in remarkable condition, providing intimate glimpses into daily life 9,000 years ago. The site offers a unique window into the pre-pottery Neolithic B period, one of the most crucial transitions in human cultural development. The architecture of Atlantis reveals sophisticated understanding of construction techniques and community planning. The houses, built from local stone, feature walls that still stand over a meter high in some areas. Each dwelling included multiple rooms, hearths for cooking and heating, and storage areas for grain and tools. The uniform size and design of these structures suggest an egalitarian society with relatively equal distribution of resources and status. One of the most remarkable features of Atlantis is its water well, possibly the oldest known water well in the world. This circular stone structure, nearly a meter in diameter and lined with stones, demonstrates advanced understanding of hydrology and construction techniques. The well was dug to reach the freshwater aquifer beneath the village, showing that even 9,000 years ago, humans were capable of complex engineering projects that required planning, cooperation, and technical knowledge. The megalithic installations at Atlantis provide evidence of sophisticated ritual and social practices. A semicircular arrangement of 7 standing stones, each weighing up to 600 kilograms, surrounds a freshwater spring that was active when the site was inhabited. This stone circle represents one of the earliest known megalithic monuments, predating similar structures in Europe by millennia and suggesting that the tradition of monumental stone construction has deeper roots than previously understood. The agricultural evidence from Atlantis documents humanity's ongoing transition from hunting and gathering to farming during the Neolithic Revolution. Excavations have revealed storage facilities containing remains of wheat, barley, lentils, and peas, some of the earliest evidence of systematic agriculture in the Levant. Stone tools include sickles, grinding stones, and mortar used for processing grain, while animal bones show the domestication of cattle, pigs, goats, and sheep. The marine resources exploited by Atlantis' inhabitants reveal a sophisticated understanding of coastal ecology. Archaeological evidence includes fishhooks, net weights, and remains of Mediterranean fish species, showing that the villagers combined farming with marine harvesting. This mixed subsistence strategy provided food security and dietary diversity. that supported the community's growth and stability. The human remains found at Atlantis offer unprecedented insights into Neolithic health, diet, and social practices. Burials within and around houses suggest ancestor worship or strong connections between the living and dead. The skeletal remains show evidence of hard physical labor, but also indicate generally good health and nutrition. Most remarkably, several skulls show the earliest known cases of tuberculosis, providing crucial evidence for understanding the history of human disease. The craftsmanship evident in Atlantis artifacts demonstrates sophisticated technical skills and artistic sensibilities. Stone tools are expertly knapped from local flint, while bone and antler implements show precise working techniques. Decorative items include beads made from stone and shell, indicating trade networks that extended far beyond the immediate coastal area. The quality of these artifacts suggests specialized craftsmen within the community. The submergence of Atlantis occurred gradually as postglacial sea level rise claimed low-lying coastal areas throughout the Mediterranean. Unlike sudden disasters that destroyed other underwater sites, the slow rise of the Mediterranean meant that inhabitants had time to adapt and eventually abandon the village as it became uninhabitable. This gradual process of abandonment has preserved the site's layout and many artifacts in their original locations. The dating of Atlantis' occupation has been confirmed through multiple methods, including radiocarbon dating of organic materials, pottery analysis, and stratigraphic studies. The village was inhabited from approximately 7,000 to 6,000 BCE, during a crucial period when human societies across the Middle East were developing agriculture, establishing permanent settlements, and creating the foundations for complex civilizations. Climate reconstruction for Atlantis' period of occupation reveals environmental conditions that were significantly different from today. The region experienced wetter conditions with more reliable rainfall, supporting the agricultural activities that sustained the village. The Mediterranean was smaller, with extensive coastal plains that are now submerged, providing rich agricultural land and diverse ecological niches for prehistoric communities. The technological innovations evident at Atlantis include sophisticated stone tool industries, advanced construction techniques, and water management systems that required collaborative labor and technical knowledge. The village represents a crucial link between simple hunter-gatherer camps and the complex urban settlements that would emerge in the later Neolithic and Bronze Age periods. The social organization implied by Atlantis' layout and artifacts suggests an egalitarian community with relatively equal access to resources and decision-making authority. The similar size and construction of houses, the communal water well, and the shared megalithic monument all point to cooperative social structures rather than hierarchical organization dominated by elites. The trade networks connecting Atlantis to distant regions are evident in raw materials and artifacts found at the site. Obsidian from Anatolia, shells from the Red Sea, and stones from inland sources demonstrate that even Neolithic communities participated in extensive exchange networks that connected the Eastern Mediterranean to Southwest Asia and beyond. Recent technological advances have revolutionized the study of Atlantis, allowing researchers to explore and document the site without disturbing its delicate remains. High-resolution underwater photography, 3D mapping techniques, and advanced conservation methods enable detailed study while preserving the site for future research and public education. The conservation challenges facing Atlantis include natural processes like sand movement and marine erosion, as well as human impacts from fishing, diving, and coastal development. The Israeli Antiquities Authority works with international partners to monitor the site and develop protection strategies that balance research access with long-term preservation. Educational programs based on Atlantis research have transformed understanding of Neolithic life and human cultural development. The site serves as a crucial case study for understanding how early agricultural communities organized themselves, adapted to environmental change, and developed the social and technological innovations that laid foundations for later civilizations. The international significance of Atlantis extends beyond archaeology into climate science, environmental history, and human adaptation studies. The site provides crucial data for understanding how prehistoric communities responded to sea level rise and climate change, offering lessons relevant to contemporary challenges facing coastal communities worldwide. As we ascend from the ancient streets of Atlantis, we carry with us profound appreciation for the ingenuity and adaptability of our Neolithic ancestors. This underwater village demonstrates that even 9,000 years ago, humans were creating complex communities with sophisticated technologies, social organizations, and spiritual practices that laid the groundwork for all subsequent cultural development. Chapter 12. The Lost Sister City in the Waters Near Heracleion lies another remarkable underwater archaeological site that has captured the imagination of researchers and the public alike. Canopus, the ancient Egyptian city that served as the final destination for the sacred boat of Osiris, represents a crucial piece in understanding the religious and cultural landscape of pharaonic Egypt. While less famous than its neighboring Sunken city, Canopus offers equally spectacular insights into the sophisticated civilization that flourished at the mouth of the Nile over 2 millennia ago. Canopus held a unique position in ancient Egyptian religious practices as the destination for one of the most important annual ceremonies in the Egyptian calendar. Each year during the month of Kayak, corresponding to our late October and early November, the sacred boat carrying a statue of Osiris would travel from the great temple of Amun-Gareb in Heracleion through the interconnected waterways to reach the shrine of Osiris in Canopus. This religious journey symbolized the death and resurrection of Osiris, embodying themes central to Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife. Picture the grandeur of this ancient religious procession as it would have appeared in the 4th century BCE. Elaborately decorated barks glide through the canals connecting the two sacred cities, their golden prows cutting through waters lined with cheering crowds. Priests in white linen robes chant ancient hymns while incense burns in portable braziers, the smoke mixing with the Mediterranean breeze. The climactic moment comes as the divine boat reaches Canopus, where thousands of pilgrims from across Egypt and the Mediterranean world have gathered to witness the sacred mysteries. The archaeological evidence from underwater Canopus reveals a city specifically designed to accommodate these massive religious festivals. The urban layout includes wide processional ways, large public squares capable of holding thousands of people, and elaborate temple complexes with the infrastructure necessary to house and feed pilgrims who traveled from across the ancient world to participate in these sacred ceremonies. The religious significance of Canopus extended far beyond the annual Osiris festival. The city was renowned throughout the ancient Mediterranean for its healing temples and miracle cures. Pilgrims came not just for the major festivals, but year-round, seeking divine intervention for various ailments and afflictions. The temple complexes included dormitories where pilgrims could stay during healing rituals, medical facilities where priest-physicians provided treatment, and sacred pools where ritual purification and healing ceremonies took place. The international character of Canopus is evident in the diverse artifacts recovered from its underwater ruins. Greek pottery, Roman coins, Syrian glassware, and Arabian incense demonstrate that this was not just an Egyptian religious center but a cosmopolitan destination that attracted visitors from across the ancient world. This cultural diversity reflects Canopus's role as a crucial link between Egyptian religious traditions and the broader Mediterranean cultural sphere. The underwater preservation of Canopus has been exceptional, protecting architectural details and artifacts that provide unprecedented insights into Egyptian temple architecture and religious practices. Massive stone blocks from temple walls remain in their original positions, while intricate carved reliefs depicting religious scenes retain sharp detail despite centuries underwater. These preserved elements allow archaeologists to reconstruct not just the physical appearance of ancient temples, but also the religious ceremonies that took place within them. Recent discoveries at underwater Canopus include a magnificent collection of ritual objects that were used in the Osiris mysteries and other religious ceremonies. Golden vessels, silver ritual implements, precious stone amulets, and bronze ceremonial tools demonstrate the wealth and sophistication of Egyptian religious practices. Many of these objects bear inscriptions in hieroglyphics that provide direct, textual evidence about ancient ceremonies and beliefs. The hydraulic engineering visible in Canopus's ruins reveals sophisticated understanding of water management necessary for a city built on the Nile Delta's constantly shifting landscape. Complex systems of canals, dikes, and drainage channels control water flow throughout the city, while elaborate harbor facilities accommodated the large boats necessary for transporting pilgrims and religious processions between Canopus and Thonis Heraclean. The artistic achievements preserved in underwater Canopus rival those found in the most famous Egyptian temples. Colossal statues of pharaohs and gods demonstrate the highest levels of Egyptian sculptural art, while detailed relief carvings tell stories from Egyptian mythology with artistic skill that equals the finest work found in temples throughout the Nile Valley. These underwater galleries preserve Egyptian art in conditions that often surpass the preservation found at terrestrial sites. The economic importance of Canopus extended beyond its religious functions to encompass significant commercial activities. The city served as a major port for ships traveling between Egypt and the broader Mediterranean world, with extensive harbor facilities and warehouse complexes that supported international trade. The wealth generated by this commercial activity funded the elaborate religious architecture and ceremonies that made Canopus famous throughout the ancient world. The gradual submergence of Canopus followed the same geological processes that claimed Thonis Heraclean, with earthquakes, soil liquefaction, and rising sea levels combining to sink portions of the city beneath the Mediterranean. However, unlike the sudden destruction that characterized some ancient disasters, Canopus appears to have experienced a more gradual decline that allowed for the careful removal of the most valuable religious artifacts before final abandonment. The continuing archaeological exploration of underwater Canopus faces unique challenges related to its location in busy shipping lanes and its proximity to modern port facilities. Advanced underwater excavation techniques and careful coordination with marine traffic are essential for conducting research safely and effectively. Despite these challenges, each diving season brings new discoveries that enhance our understanding of this remarkable site. The religious continuity represented by Canopus extends far beyond ancient Egyptian practices to encompass early Christian and Islamic traditions that developed in the region. Some researchers suggest that certain Christian practices in early Egypt may have been influenced by the healing traditions and pilgrimage customs that characterized ancient Canopus. This religious continuity demonstrates how sacred sites can transcend specific religious traditions while maintaining their spiritual significance. The technological innovations being developed for Canopus research include advanced underwater photography systems, precision mapping techniques, and specialized conservation methods for underwater artifacts. These technologies are advancing the field of underwater archaeology while providing new tools that can be applied to similar sites worldwide. The research at Canopus is contributing to international standards for underwater cultural heritage management. the educational value of Canopus extends beyond Egyptology to encompass religious studies, ancient history, and cultural anthropology. The site provides concrete evidence for understanding how ancient religious practices functioned, how pilgrimage systems operated, and how different cultures interacted in the ancient Mediterranean world. These insights have relevance for understanding religious and cultural practices in many different historical contexts. The conservation challenges at underwater Canopus include protecting artifacts from marine growth, pollution, and unauthorized disturbance while maintaining the site's accessibility for legitimate research and educational purposes. Developing effective conservation strategies requires close cooperation between archaeologists, marine scientists, conservation specialists, and local authorities responsible for protecting Egypt's cultural heritage. The public fascination with underwater Canopus reflects broader interests in ancient mysteries, lost civilizations, and the intersection of archaeology with adventure. Media coverage of discoveries at the site has brought international attention to underwater archaeology while raising awareness about the importance of protecting submerged cultural heritage sites worldwide. Current research priorities at Canopus focus on understanding the complete urban layout of the ancient city, documenting the full range of artifacts and architectural features present at the site, and developing comprehensive conservation plans for long-term site protection. These research goals require continued international cooperation and sustained funding for underwater archaeological work. The legacy of ancient Canopus continues to influence contemporary understanding of Egyptian civilization, ancient religion, and cultural exchange in the Mediterranean world. Each artifact recovered from beneath the waves adds to our knowledge of how ancient peoples understood the divine, organized their societies, and created meaning through religious practice and cultural expression. As we emerge from the sacred waters that now cover ancient Canopus, we carry with us appreciation for the profound spiritual beliefs that motivated ancient peoples to create such magnificent religious centers, the sophisticated engineering and artistic skills required to build them, and the dedication of modern researchers who work to recover and preserve these underwater treasures for future generations to study and admire. As we surface from our extraordinary journey through the world's lost ocean civilizations, we emerge not just with salt water in our hair, but with profound insights that ripple far beyond the boundaries of archaeology and history. The submerged cities we've explored together, from the magnificent temples of Thonis Heracleion rising from Egyptian waters to the geometric mysteries of Japan's Yonaguni Monument, from the perfectly planned Bronze Age streets of Pavlopetri to the sacred shores of Mahabalipuram, collectively tell a story that is both humbling and inspiring about the human experience. Across millennia, these underwater worlds serve as powerful reminders that our species has always possessed remarkable creativity, adaptability, and ambition. The sophisticated urban planning we witnessed in 5,000-year-old Pavlopetri, the international trade networks that made Thonis Heracleion a cosmopolitan hub of the ancient Mediterranean, and the advanced engineering evident in sites like Atlantis, all demonstrate that human ingenuity and cultural sophistication stretch back far deeper into our past than many realize. Our ancestors were not primitive survivors, but architects of complex societies with advanced technologies, global connections, and profound spiritual beliefs that rival our own in their sophistication. Yet these same magnificent civilizations also offer sobering lessons about the ultimate power of natural forces. Every underwater site we visited tells the same fundamental story, that no matter how wealthy, powerful, or seemingly permanent a civilization becomes, it remains vulnerable to forces beyond human control. Earthquakes toppled Pavlopetri. Tsunamis may have claimed Thonis Heracleion, and rising seas gradually swallowed the vast landscapes of Doggerland. These ancient lessons carry urgent contemporary relevance as our modern world grapples with climate change, rising sea levels, and environmental challenges that echo those faced by our predecessors. The ongoing revolution in underwater archaeology demonstrates that we stand at the threshold of unprecedented discovery. With less than 5% of our oceans explored and new technologies constantly expanding our capabilities, countless civilizations likely remain hidden beneath the waves, waiting to revolutionize our understanding of human history. Each new sonar sweep, every robotic dive, and each careful excavation has the potential to rewrite textbooks and challenge fundamental assumptions about when and how complex human societies developed. Perhaps most importantly, these submerged civilizations remind us of our shared humanity across time and culture. Whether examining Roman luxury goods from underwater Baia, traditional Chinese architecture in Lion City, or Neolithic tools from Atlantis, we recognize the same fundamental human desires for beauty, meaning, community, and permanence that drive us today. The people who built these lost cities shared our hopes, fears, dreams, and aspirations. They simply expressed them in different times, places, and ways. As we face our own environmental challenges and cultural transformations, the lessons from these underwater worlds offer both inspiration and practical wisdom. They demonstrate that humans can create remarkable achievements even with limited technology, that international cooperation and cultural exchange have always been sources of strength, and that adaptation and resilience are fundamental human characteristics that have enabled our species to survive and thrive. Through countless challenges, the depths continue to call to us, holding secrets that will amaze, challenge, and inspire future generations of explorers, researchers, and dreamers who dare to seek truth beneath the waves. The ocean's greatest treasures are not gold or silver, but the stories of human civilization waiting to be discovered in the depths.